Well, hi there, folks. Welcome to the program. This, of course, is Stinchfield, the podcast. Great to be along with you this morning. There is all kinds of evidence now that the Trump financial agenda is working. Trump policies, when it comes to an economic perspective, are having a great effect on this nation. You know, housing prices, specifically rents are down across the board. We've talked about this before, from Chicago to Los Angeles to Denver to Charlotte, North Carolina. You name it. In these big cities, you're seeing rents come tumbling down. Why? Because of President Trump's economic agenda and the team that he put around him. So Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, goes in front of Congress yesterday and puts on an absolute masterclass. This guy was proof as to why I firmly believe that President Trump has assembled the greatest presidential cabinet in American history. This is why America is on the right track, because of guys like Scott Bessent. So we're going to go through some of the things that he said yesterday, and break it down for you. Now, Maxine Waters, not happy with Scott Bessent. But again, Scott Bessent schooled her, gave her an old-fashioned beatdown. And this is the thing that I absolutely love. You know, they say the attitude resonates from the leader. And this firebrand, not going to take any bullcorn attitude, comes from President Trump, and you can see it radiate down into the people that he puts around him. So Scott Bessent is A1 in my book. He is the Mac Daddy, old school gangster of Washington, D.C. now, and he's kicking ass and taking names. Before we get into all of that, folks, I want to tell you about my friends over at Patriot Mobile. They are great sponsors of this program. You'll have access to the 3 major networks around the country. So you can choose what network you want to be on. 100% U.S.-based customer service. They offer all kinds of plans, including international plans as well. So you will be covered in every way, shape, or form. I think you're going to save money with Patriot Mobile when you get down to it. I know the service is better. I have Patriot Mobile, and I couldn't be happier. Now, why? Service is great. U.S.-based customer service. But they're America's only Christian conservative wireless provider. You can use your phone, upgrade your phone, get a new phone. Switching is so easy. It only takes minutes. Trust me on this one. You want to go to patriotmobile.com/grant. That's patriotmobile.com/grant. Use the promo code GRANT for a free month's service. And you can call them at 972-PATRIOT. That's super easy as well, 972-PATRIOT. Give Patriot Mobile a call today. Tell them Grant Stinchfield sent you. All right, with that, I said we start the show off.
Uncensored and unapologetic. This is Stinchfield. Here's your host, Grant Stinchfield.
All right, thank you so much, everybody. So Scott Bessent yesterday, what an unbelievable performance he put on. And, you know, the mainstream media didn't want to cover it. Why did they not want to cover Scott Bessent? I believe they didn't want to cover him because he puts power to truth. The words are so powerful, yet they're so based in fact, and there's not much they can do about it. So it started off with Maxine Waters.
I believe the ranking member does not understand the definition of generalized inflation versus one-time price increases. I would also note that housing, especially for working Americans, a Wharton study has shown that the mass unfettered immigration, adding 10 to 20 million new people demanding housing, Congresswoman, is what caused a great deal of housing inflation for working Americans. So you and the Biden administration should be ashamed.
Which is also why we are seeing rents. There was just a recent media story on this. Rents are going down partially because of that enforcement. So Mr. Secretary.
Yes, it is supply and demand continues to work.
Supply and demand works. Free markets work. But when you upend the supply pool, you upend the demand pool, you're going to throw a monkey wrench in all of it. And what did the Biden administration do? They upended the demand pool because they had all of these illegals come in and it sent rent skyrocketing. Now, I thought it was very funny. He said to Maxine Waters, you don't understand the difference between inflation and a one-time price increase. So one-time price increase, boom, goes up, stays there. That could happen a little bit with the tariffs, but what we've actually seen is the prices come back down. If they got hit with a one-time price increase, they ended up coming back down. We do not have long-term inflation in this country. Inflation has been basically stopped, halted in its tracks. The numbers bear that out. Now, Maxine Waters did not get off the hook from Scott Bessent, okay? This, let me see. This is that interaction.
Claiming my time.
Was a mass
Claiming my
unfettered
time.
immigration.
Mr. Chair, will you
let
let
in
him
between
know
10
that
and
when I
20
asked
million
him time
immigrants
to
Time does
took
belong
up
to
the housing
gentlewoman
stock.
from California.
10 and 20 million immigrants
Can you
took
shut
up the
him up?
housing.
Can you shut him up, she just says. How dare you? You invite him in to give testimony to your committee, and then when you ask him questions and he starts to correct you or give you information you don't want to hear, then you cut him off and say, can you shut him up? He's the Treasury Secretary of the United States of America. Have some respect, Mad Max.
Stock of working Americans, and can you maintain some level of dignity?
Gentlewoman's time has expired.
Can you maintain some level of dignity? He says, the great thing about Bessent is that he comes off so mild-mannered. He's not a fire breather. He's not making flamethrowers, shooting flamethrowers at this committee. He just drops truth bombs quietly. Can you have some level of dignity? He says to her.
No, my time has not expired.
Your time has expired. And the
The
gentleman,
gentleman took up my time. I think you should recognize that, Mr. Chair.
the gentlewoman's
He took
time
up
has
my
expired. The gentlewoman's time has
Well,
expired.
if you wanna-
parliamentary
If you
The
wanna
chair,
protect him,
the chair
Mr.
recognizes the vice chairman of the
Mr.
committee,
Chair.
Mr.
If you
Heisinger.
want to
Parliamentary inquiry.
go right ahead, but I would not expect you to do that.
Time has expired. She sounds like Flavor Flav. If you really listen to Maxine Waters, you remember Flavor Flav? That's what yeah, boy. That's what Maxine Waters sounds like. I'm sure I'll be called a racist for saying that, but I'm just calling it like I see it. His testimony continued.
Particular as we think about the impact of housing, was Biden's open border policies directly related to some of the inflation that we've seen in housing? That's where you're previously cut off.
Yes, to come back to that, I would point to a study from the Wharton School that said that supply and demand works, especially in low-end housing, that letting in 10, 20, we don't know how many illegal aliens that flooded into the housing market, they all need someplace to live. So what we have seen is that the Wharton study says that for every 1% increase due to the illegal immigration, rents went up 1%. So if you got a 20% increase in population, then rents went up 20%.
And economics 101.
And so who do you think that hurts the most? The wealthy people aren't renting their houses. The wealthy people are paying cash for their places. They don't have mortgages. Who do you think it hurts? I promise you, in my mind, it's going to be hurting poor folks, middle-class folks, those in big cities, those that need every penny. And that was because of unfettered immigration. And then not to mention, all the illegal aliens are taking their jobs. That had a huge effect on all of this. So right now you're seeing incomes of Americans go up. You're seeing the cost of living come down, where it was just the opposite under Biden. You had your incomes dropping and your cost of living was going up. You were getting squeezed. Americans aren't being squeezed anymore, and that is a very good thing. And it's in large part to people like Scott Bessent and the president that have come up with policies that actually work. And it's not rocket science. It's basically getting government out of the way, coming up with some creative ways to do things, back out of all of this massive spending, because government spending is what drives inflation. Make no mistake about it. The number one driver of inflation, not immigration, government spending. The number two driver, I believe, is probably immigration. That when it comes to everything, healthcare costs especially. Let's go back to Bessent.
Oh, yeah, that's a yes or no.
Oh, this is good. So this is Congressman Meeks, and boy, oh boy, do they go at it. Meeks, a Democrat.
No, Congressman, the
All you have to ask
the
is yes or no.
OCC is an independent entity, and I would know, Congressman,
so that- I take that-
in
I take that as a
2006,
no.
you traveled to Venezuela to lobby
I take that as a no.
Chavez on behalf of
I
your
take that
donors.
as a
On
no.
behalf of your
You
donors.
do not want to answer that
I was
question.
sentenced to 110
I take
years
that
in
as a
jail
no.
For a $7 billion
Gentleman's
contract.
I'm asking you to do your
As
responsibility
Secretary-
as Secretary of the Treasury.
Into a Venezuelan.
You do not.
Mr. Meeks,
Will you?
your time has expired.
You
Well,
cannot
well,
erase
told the
what you
witness,
did in
He's the one that
2006.
went past your time, Mr. Chairman.
No, and the
He did not answer my question, and he wouldn't pass the
Mr.
time.
Meeks. He had 6 seconds left to try to answer your question, and the
It was
time
a yes or
expired.
no. It was a yes or no answer. I asked him, will he? No, it was
Gentlemen,
yes
the
or
chair
no.
recognizes
OCC
the
is an
gentleman.
independent
Stop
Mr.
covering
Bessent.
for the president.
Yeah, well,
Stop
Mr.
being his flunky.
hey,
First off, don't call the Treasury Secretary a flunky. But two, I mean, let's be intellectually honest here. What secretary isn't? You work for the President of the United States. You were appointed by the President of the United States. You're not an independent body. You are there to make sure that the President's vision is enacted. Does that make you a flunky? I guess on the streets you maybe call it a flunky. In Washington, you just call it another bureaucrat. But the reality is that's what presidents hire cabinet secretaries for, to carry out their vision. That's what Scott Bessent is doing, and it's a pretty damn good vision. Again, the lack of respect that these people have is tremendous to me. When Bessent has shown nothing but respect. He can't get a word in. They don't want to have him talk. All they ask him are yes or no questions, so he can't explain. Because once he explains, the American people are on board with us, and they can't have that.
Okay.
and
Gentlemen.
He's talking to me. I'm responding back to him.
2006 trip to Venezuela.
Neither
Why
one-
don't
Stop
why don't you
covering
tell
for the
Secretary
president. Don't be a flunky. Work for the American
Secretary,
people.
Mr. Meeks.
trip to
Mr.
Venezuela?
Meeks.
Work for the American people.
And maybe
Don't
you're
be
going-
a
maybe you're
cover-up
going to-
for a mob.
Maybe you're going to
As
see
long
your
as
friend
he talks,
Nicholas
you talk.
Maduro
I will.
in
Gentleman is
Brooklyn
not
prison.
recognized. Mr. Bessent, please. I recognize the gentleman from Texas. Mr.
What a clown show. I mean, seriously, what a clown show. They have no ability to keep order there. And it's not Bessent's fault. Bessent's literally doing what he can. I mean, you ask a question, he has a right to answer. You invite someone in. Why don't you hear from them? Most of these members of Congress, especially the Democrats at this hearing, now Republicans do this too, don't get me wrong. They have 6 or 7 minutes to interview Scott Bessent. They spend 5 minutes on a prepared speech and then get 3 minutes to ask questions, and they get upset when they run out of time because they're complaining about him answering questions. Why don't members of Congress bring a witness in, ask them pointed questions, and let's get some real information that we can learn? I mean, every witness you can learn from, even for me, if a radical leftist comes in front of my body, okay, if I was running that body, that committee, I would try to learn from them. I would try to get in the minds of them. One, so I can figure out how to counteract the mind. But I want information. They don't want information. They want to grandstand. And that goes for both parties in Congress. And it's actually pretty sad how much they love grandstanding. Now, I'm going to play another. This wasn't Scott Bessent in front of Congress, but it was Bessent on MSNBC. And again, he gives another lesson in economics. He gives another lesson in America First policies. They can't figure out how could you do something in another country that would actually benefit America. Well, listen to this.
Amid this discussion of costs and prices and affordability, how does a $20 billion bailout of Argentina help Americans? You're the president's point person on that. Can you explain to those here who are feeling the pinch, including America's farmers, why the United States is helping out Argentina?
Well, do you know what a swap line is?
It's currency swap, yes.
Yes, but what is that?
You're the Treasury Secretary.
Yes, but why would you call it a bailout?
That is how.
In most bailouts, you don't make money. The U.S. government made money. We used our financial balance sheet to stabilize the government. One of our great allies in Latin America during an election.
So before he continues, do you see what happens when you hire professionals? So a currency swap they're using instead of an actual bailout. They're propping up Argentina's currency. They've basically made an investment in it. And I think the value of it to the dollar that they invested goes up. They end up making money. The government of Argentina and the country ends up surviving this chaos. You get a good election there, and you put Argentina on a path to success. It was basically an investment bank play at the highest levels of government. You think the Biden administration was pulling a move like this? They made money on this deal. This ding-dong on MSNBC had no idea of that.
President, they won in a landslide. The government's going to make money, and I would rather use peace through economic strength than have to be shooting at narco boats coming offshore if the government collapsed. We have a generational opportunity in Latin America to create allies. We just saw an election in Bolivia. We're probably going to see an election in Colombia. We've seen them in Ecuador. We're going to see them in the Chile. So by stabilizing the economy there and making a profit, then that's a very good deal for the American people. And there's a lot we could have been doing for American farmers, but Democrats closed the government.
So there you go. Again, the original gangster. I mean, he literally shut these people down. Now, if that's not America first, I don't know what is. America is a safer place because of it. As another country becomes an ally instead of a foe, we're not shooting drug boats out of the water. Instead, we're having economic trade. But this guy's fabulous, which is why I love this whole cabinet. And we won't get into the Department of Justice. I got some issues there right now. I really do. We'll see. There's supposed to be a big announcement tonight. Actually, supposed to be a big announcement coming up about election fraud and maybe some arrests coming as related to election fraud. And President Trump is going to prove that the 2020 election was stolen. We're going to be covering that tonight. President Trump's set to give an announcement at 7 p.m. tonight. That's exactly when the Real America's Voice show starts. So we'll be covering that. But let's hope that we start moving the ball down the roll of DOJ as good as Scott Bessent is at the Treasury Department. So, all right. Hey, listen to me. You know, if there's one company, well, I love all these companies, but the wellness company is really, really, really getting it done. And they have this weight loss product called Drop. And if you use the promo code GRANT100, you're going to get $100 off this. And people are shedding pounds like never before on this stuff. It is peptide based. You drop it in some water, you drink it, your appetite is completely suppressed, your metabolism is sped up, you get healthy again without these GLP-1 crazy fat shots that are devastating for you. This does not eat away at your muscle mass, it eats away at your fat. TWC.health/Grant. Use the promo code GRANT100 for $100 off of that. And for you guys out there, let me just tell you about a product called Mars. Mars is testosterone support. This will give you energy like you never believe. This will give you lasting power like you've never believed. And you will see that you will start to once again feel like a man again. You get on this Mars product. TWC.health/Grant. Use the promo code GRANT for 10% off of Mars. That's the wellness company. And this has boosted my testosterone levels as well. So check it out at the wellness company, TWC.health/Grant. Use that promo code GRANT for 10% off. Okay. Big thanks to the wellness company and all our sponsors. Now on to President Trump's speech today. He was speaking at the National Prayer Breakfast. You know, a lot of people that don't know President Trump like I do not believe that he's actually a religious man. I can tell you that he is. I can tell you that he takes God as a major part of his life, and that he certainly respects and nurtures America's right to practice religion and specifically our beliefs in God. And this is what he talked about today. And this is why we need straight talk from our leaders. Straight talk like President Trump gives us, especially when it comes to topics like this, where the left goes ballistic on.
To be a great nation, however, I think, and I may be wrong, but I don't think so, because I've watched a lot and I study a lot. You have to have religion. You have to have it. You have to have faith. You have to have God. And thankfully, as we gather today, there are many signs that religion is coming back, and now it's no longer signs. It's just coming back. It's coming back so strong. You know.
So it is coming back. And it's coming back because President Trump gives us the protection. It's like, you know, when you see members of Congress actually start to fight when they've never fought before, but President Trump is in there. It's like President Trump has the backs of Christians in America, where, you know, moderates, they don't like talking about religion. Leftists despise religion. If I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times. The reason they don't want you to believe in God is because they'd rather have you believing in government. That ain't going to work for me, man. Not going to work for President Trump either.
That includes religion. I mean, and maybe that's part of the reason that we're doing so well. There's such great spirit. It's all spirit, and it includes religion. I've always said, you just can't have a great country if you don't have religion. You have to believe in something. You have to believe that what we're doing, there's a reason for it. There has to be a reason for it. We're all working and we're behaving. I mean, I behave because I'm afraid not to, okay? Because I don't want to get in trouble. No, it's such a positive thing, and people are starting to see it, and they go into church and they're meeting people, and families are developing. It's really, the things are happening in our country right now.
You know what's amazing? When I go to events, sometimes I speak at events. Maybe it's a Republican Women's Club, or maybe it's a big event like the Unite IE conference out in California. Every now and then, somebody will come up to me and they will say, "Can I pray for you? Can we pray together?" Boy, oh boy. What a powerful moment that is. Have you ever had somebody? I don't know if you have. Certainly, we've all had people pray for us. But have you had somebody right there in front of you, in front of a group of people, actually pray for your well-being out loud? It is such a powerful moment. Only those on the right are doing this. It does not happen at a Democrat function gathering where someone says, "Can I pray for you?" And the group bows its head and pray. Boy, oh boy, nothing makes me stronger than when I leave an event after someone had done that. I think a complete stranger just took one of his or her most intimate moments. And that's when you have a relationship with God. They take that intimate moment and they share it with you. They engage in that intimacy with you because their love of God, they want you to feel it. They want to ask God for his protection over you. Wow. And that doesn't happen on the left. They hate Jesus. They hate religion. And certainly they hate us being beholden to a higher power because we're not beholden to them.
Under the Trump administration, we're standing strongly behind Americans of faith, stopping the attacks on our values, our traditions, defending religious liberty like no president. I believe like no president has ever done before. I do believe that.
I believe 100% he's defending religion like no. What other president are you going to name? I mean, I'm not sure Ronald Reagan had to defend religion like President Trump does. There has always been a war on Christianity in this country, but not like it is today. So I'm not sure any other president has been in the position that they had to defend Christianity like it is. Now, we've had presidents that have waged war on it, that have been part of the battle plan to call into question Christianity and faith. Look at Barack Obama. Joe Biden claimed to be a Catholic. Meanwhile, he's, supporting the idea of killing babies left and right. That doesn't make any sense to me at all. Let's hear more from Trump.
For 4 years, ISIS rebuilt. And they have a little bit of ISIS now again. And we knocked the hell out of them the other day in Nigeria because they were killing Christians. You know about that. They were killing Christians. So you can't do that. When Christians come under attack, they know they're going to be attacked violently and viciously by President Trump. I know it's not a nice thing to say, but that's the way it is.
Well, I think it's a good thing to say, Mr. President. I think it's a good thing that you're doing this. And we see what's happening in Nigeria. We need to hit back. People that are persecuted because of their religion, quite frankly, any religion, and people that are persecuted for their religion, those doing the persecution need to be held to account. Look at what's happening in Iran. Now, I don't want to get involved in regime change in Iran. It's another one of these countries, like Ukraine, that I could really care less about. I don't want to get involved in their geopolitical politics. But if you're killing freedom-loving humans that are literally protesting for freedom, for liberty, how do you not defend them? I think in some respects you have to, and it's a mentality that I had when I was on the playground as a kid school. Now, I was never a big guy, but I was always an athlete, and I was friends with everybody. I got along with everybody, and because I played football and basketball and baseball, even all the biggest linemen, the biggest bullies, they all liked me, and they liked me. Why? I think because I was a pretty good athlete, and they knew I had respect of coaches and respect of teachers and had respect for people because I was a respectful guy and I worked hard. But if I saw anybody going after somebody on the playground, somebody that didn't really have a voice like I had, or the stature that I had in grade school even, not just high school, I would tell them to knock it off. I would come to their rescue. And in some respects, sometimes America needs to come to the rescue. I'm not saying go fight foreign wars. That's the last thing I'm saying. I've had a real transformation on that. I don't want to be getting involved in regime change and boots on the ground for years and years and years. But as President Trump uses a term, if we can hit him and hit him hard with some strikes, well, let's do it. Because we're making the world a better place because of it. And that's what America is all about, making the world a better place. More from the president.
The Department of Justice recently charged 9 individuals for storming a church in Minnesota during a worship service and trampling on Americans' First Amendment rights. I watched that tape, and, that was violent. I saw the people sitting there, Pam, and they were scared. Some were scared and some were holding up their hands like, I believe in God. But they were violent people. Screaming, your parents are Nazis. Your parents are Nazis. The people are sitting away. And I thought the minister was great. He was so calm and good. They're screaming at him. Terrible. Right in the middle of a church service. It's got to be illegal. I mean, Pam is doing it. I'm not doing it, but Pam is doing it. And I'll tell you, people are happy with the job that's taking place because they're bad people. They're bad people. You have one Trump hater in particular that I watched his performance. It was terrible. They try and use freedom of the press and all this to get out of a criminal event. But that was a horrible thing to witness. And if we allowed that to go on, you wouldn't be able to have a church. No, everybody would be afraid to go to church.
He's right. And I think he's talking about Don Lemon, clearly Don Lemon, who it looks like the evidence certainly is pointing to it, that he took part in the planning and carrying out of that raid on that church. Boy, oh boy, it's bad. It's a bad spot that we live in. Let me play one more clip for you.
We passed the largest ever expansion of school choice so that every parent has a chance to send their child to a school that shares their values. And today I'm also pleased to announce that the Department of Education is officially issuing its new guidance to protect the right to prayer in our public schools. That's a big deal.
Let me make something very clear. It's not illegal to pray in public schools. It's not illegal to read the Bible in public schools. What I do think would be unconstitutional is for the school to take an active role in recruiting anybody that doesn't want to take part in that religious practice, mandating they take part in a religious practice. I believe that would be unconstitutional. But if a group of kids want to pray, there's nothing wrong with that. They're not making anybody else do it. The school's not making them do it. There's time for that. We now know that it's been approved by the Supreme Court that there's this in-school Bible study. Now, they have to go off campus, if you can believe it. But buses come and take these kids. They take them off campus. They study the Bible, and they come back to school. This is all during lunch. And do you know, by and large, those kids score better in class than like 80% of the other students in school. It's amazing what God will do for you, isn't it? I know you know that. All right. Let me tell you about my friends over at VRA Insider. You want to crush the market right now? I just got an alert. And this is greatness, by the way. I get alerts of what we should buy, what we should sell. It's not a day trading. It's not like every day. You're not doing this every 2 hours. Few days, weeks, months, the portfolio might change. But we're pulling returns of an average of 35.7%. That's unheard of. VRAinsider.com is the spot you should go to literally crush the market. VRAinsider.com. That's VRAinsider.com. Right now, for Stinchfield's Army members, they're offering a 2-week trial. So just go in there, sign up, give them your email, try it for 2 weeks. You're going to get their 10 baggers, which are the 10 stocks they're recommending right now. You're going to get the daily newsletter, and you're going to see how it's going to transform how you make money. VRAinsider.com. That's VRAinsider.com. Pay them a visit. All right. Let's go now to a segment I did on Real America's Voice the other night. You know, there was this detransitioner lawsuit that was won in Westchester County, New York, of all places. That is a liberal county. It's actually the county I grew up in. I don't like to tell a lot of people I'm from New York. I've been in Texas almost 25 years, but I grew up in Westchester County. It is blue as blue can be. But this jury saw reality, that a psychiatrist and a surgeon teamed up against a 16-year-old girl. They chopped her boobs off. They put her through detransitioner, all kinds of things. And transitioner kinds of things. She now says this was a huge mistake. She was forced into it. And her mom was threatened that she would commit suicide if she didn't approve, if the mom didn't approve of this. We see this is a very common theme. Well, the jury awarded that woman $2 million. I actually don't think it's enough money. But $2 million the jury awards, great. So on the Real America's Voice show, I brought in another detransitioner, a young lady who also was talked into transforming into a boy. And when you hear her story, holy macaroni, you are going to literally fall out of your seat. It's eye-popping. So let's listen. To help me break this down, I want to bring in a detransitioner herself, an independent woman ambassador. Prisha Mosley is with us. Prisha, welcome back to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me.
All right, Prisha, can you tell me, I'm sure you've read about this case, did you see any similarities to what you went through and what this girl, Foxvarian, says she went through?
Absolutely. So just like Fox's mother, my parents were asked in front of me if they would rather have a dead daughter or a living son, which further spread the suicide myth, you know, that this was life-saving care. And these doctors not only tell you that, you know, gender-affirming care is life-saving care and that cutting off your breasts will save you, but they tell you that you have no other option. It's transition or die.
So you called it the suicide myth. Is it a myth, or are there kids that end up committing suicide because of this? Or is that really just a tactic used by these doctors to force parents in this direction?
People don't commit suicide because they're trans, because no one is actually trans. People commit suicide for a number of reasons, and none of those reasons are fixed or made better by giving sterilizing hormones, chemicals, and surgery to those people. There are protocols and standards in place, and none of them involve lying to the patient or diluting them or taking away their body parts and their health.
So this case had basically spelled out that the surgeon and the psychiatrist were working hand in hand in cahoots to get this woman to go through this surgery. What is it about those in the medical field that are pushing kids into this? Is it just the money, or are they warped in the brain as well? A combination of both? Have you been able to figure out what it is and how this is happening?
It's difficult to say. I will say for a lot of them, I believe it's the money. I also believe that some of them believe what they've been told, the same way doctors recklessly prescribed opioids because their higher ups told them to without doing any research or looking at how it affected their patients. And now we have that crisis on our hands. They also just overprescribed hormones and diagnosed any child with any sort of identity issue as trans and medicalized them in the same way.
I want to play a soundbite from you from Pramila Jayapal. She's a radical leftist in Congress. This is what she accused people like me of doing when I call out this transgender mania and that it's hurting kids more than helping them for sure. Roll cut 3 for me.
So why do my colleagues across the aisle, so-called limited government people, suddenly want government to get in the way of the decisions that parents and their kids make together? Why do they want to stop children from getting medical care that has been proven to be safe and effective and helps them to live happily?
Prisha, I've been answering that for a long time, but I don't have the experience that you have. You went through it. What do you say to Pramila Jayapal from her comments there?
I say that my family and I were groomed by comments like this. Her statement was filled with medical lies. None of this is effective. None of it is safe. None of it is even proven. It's an ongoing medical experiment, and no one's even collecting the data. So what she's spreading is pseudoscientific lies spread by activist organizations, not doctors. There's nothing to prove it. And if I hadn't been lied to in this way and offered things that didn't exist when I needed help, I would still have my health and my body parts. What she's doing is inexcusable at this point.
Prisha, can you take me back to when, I guess, did you start to feel like a boy, or were you told you were feeling like a boy, or were you just a tomboy as what it was when I was growing up? Take me back to that moment where it went wrong.
So I had previous sexual trauma when I was 14. It happened right when I started my period, which I was told was associated with womanhood. So then I associated the sexual assault with womanhood. And then I was in my nutritionist office, and she had gotten me to gain weight, which had started my period again after, not eating had made it go away. And it came back, and I said that I didn't like it and I wanted to be a boy. And then within, a few appointments, I was seeing an endocrinologist behind my parents' back in the nutritionist office. They didn't even know I was seeing the pediatric endocrinologist, who would very quickly go on to prescribe me testosterone.
Unbelievable. From just that to pushing you all the way to going through what you went through. Well, real quick, you doing okay now?
Oh, yes. Thankfully, I wasn't prescribed puberty blockers, and I was able to conceive and give birth to a healthy son. I wasn't able to give birth naturally, and I had complications with my chest due to the nature of the top surgery they gave me. I wasn't able to breastfeed, but I do have an amazing son. He's healthy, and he makes my life great every day.
Well, that makes us ecstatic for you. Prisha Mosley, thank you for coming on. I know it takes a lot of guts to tell this story. You've told it a lot, but you're doing a lot of great good for people out there that are just so uninformed. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's unbelievable to think that people could be so deranged and evil that they would tell parents that your kid's going to commit suicide if we don't chop their breasts off, if we don't try to turn them into Frankenstein, a science experiment. And yet this is happening around the country. Now, we are seeing great signs of moving forward on this issue. This lawsuit and the victory for her is huge. I believe there's like 27 other lawsuits around the country right now with similar circumstances. I hope and pray that those detransitioners get the relief that they most certainly deserve. Now, do you remember Chuck Schumer saying that the SAVE Act was the equivalent of Jim Crow 2.0? Outrageous comment. Well, he was asked about that on MSNBC.
Jess, there's a new Pew Research poll that 95% of Republicans, but also 71% of Democrats like this idea. So why do you not?
It's Jim Crow 2.0. And I called it Jim Crow 2.0, and the right wing went nuts.
Well, we went nuts because it's, one, not a fair comparison. Two, it's literally so racist to sit here and tell me that minorities can't get identification, that somehow they're so dumb or so illiterate or so uninformed to know where to go to get a driver's license, pull their birth certificate, or get a passport, that they're just not going to be able to vote. That's racist. So he uses this Jim Crow 2.0. It's an outrageous comparison. I'm glad MSNBC asked about him, but they let him rattle on about this.
Over the internet, that's because they know it's true. What they're trying to do here is the same thing that was done in the South for decades to prevent people of color from voting. For instance, if you change, you're a woman who got married and changed your last name, you won't be able to show ID and you'll be discriminated against. If you can't find a birth certificate or a proper ID, you'll be discriminated against. This is vicious and nasty. And I said to our Republican colleagues, it will not pass the Senate. You will not get a single Democratic vote in the Senate. We're not reviving Jim Crow all over the country. And when the American people hear what exactly it is doing and what its intent is doing, they're going to be against it as well.
No, they're not. In fact, 85% of America is for voter identification laws. It's common sense that you have to be an American citizen to vote in a federal election. It should be any election, but that's common sense. The idea that you wouldn't have to prove that somehow, to me, is insanity. And I think many people were shocked that, oh, yeah, I registered to vote. I didn't have to prove anything. I just checked the box. I'm good to go. And you tell them, oh, no, I'm an American citizen. No checks, nothing. Nobody thinks that's a good idea. The only people that don't think that's a good idea is the people that want to cheat, that want to use that to their advantage. So sad reality from Chuck Schumer that he's doubling down on this because Chuck Schumer knows that they cheat. And because he knows they cheat, this is why he wants to do everything he can to stop it. Again, more evidence to me that the filibuster needs to be thrown out. Forget about needing Democrats to vote for it. Just have Republicans vote for it and we get it passed. Literally that easy. All right, I've told you a lot about my friends over at Energized Health, energizedhealth.com. I want you to watch this, and I'm going to bring in the founder of Energized Health, John Jubilee.
I'm happy now. It works. I haven't seen my waist as thin as this since probably before when I went through menopause. My whole body changed and went crazy, and I haven't been able to feel great. I used to feel sluggish all the time. I would be like, oh, I just want to take a nap. I want to go to sleep. Now I'm always energized. Like the inches just disappeared and the clothes is falling off and I'm losing the weight and I feel fabulous. But no, I feel great. Thank you for this program. It's an amazing program and it's for life now. I live up to the title.
Well, that is, of course, Energized Health and the benefits of it, energizedhealth.com. I want to bring in now the founder of Energized Health, John Jubilee, is with me. John, welcome back.
Great to be here, Grant.
All right, John, so, for all the ladies out there, menopause is a really, really big deal, and I know it can be rough to go through. Then you have what is called perimenopause, where it's, the pre-symptoms as you get maybe into your 40s. Energized Health is helping with that too, huh, John?
Well, it really does, Grant. So first of all, I just want to say, isn't that woman adorable?
She's great.
She's all the way through menopause. So she's postmenopausal. And all the challenges that women, when they're going through menopause, the hot flashes, the lack of energy, the fat they can't lose. And you notice she said it out of her own mouth as, you're like a little bit crazy. And I'll talk to the husbands for a minute. So guys, you're not losing your mind. No, that woman is like someone who got abducted by aliens and shot full of alien medication. and you're looking at her like, who is this woman and what happened to my wife? Those are the real things that the men go through on the menopausal site. Like, they don't recognize their wife, and all they can do is empathize, and they feel so hopeless and helpless, in those moments. But I want to encourage you, men.
You're kind to say all they can do is empathize. I'm not sure that's exactly what they're going through at the moment as they're hiding behind a couch. But anyway, continue, John.
Yeah, well, no, the reason I can share this, Grant, is, I one time was part of a medical study with menopausal women. I had 130 patients in my queue, and I helped 130 women. Had 130 out of 130. They lost their fat. They got back their energy. They got back their sex drive. They got back their youthful peppiness and zip. And the reason I know that is their husbands were calling me going, holy cow, what happened to my, I haven't seen this woman for 20 years that's bouncing around my house right now. Like, I would give you $1 million for what just happened to my wife. No, the husband's life was totally transformed, was totally revolutionized because his wife got through all that and got back her joy and her youth again.
And this is all from getting hydrated at a cellular level. There's science behind this. This is not just pounding water and drinking water. That doesn't penetrate the cells. What John has scientifically figured out is how to do that. And that is why we see all these benefits, John.
That's totally it. Grant, it's going to the root. All that happens is as women age and as men age, so, hey guys, I'll throw you in here real quick. Look, as men age, guess what they lose? They lose their lean muscle. They lose their testosterone. So that's like menopause for men, is losing your testosterone, losing your muscle. And so for men, guess what every man does? You gain your lean muscle. You gain your healthy testosterone. We just had a guy on our last Tuesday night call. He said his doctor said, man, I didn't know you went on TRT therapy. And he said, I didn't go on testosterone therapy. He said, well, dude, your testosterone is up 200 points.
Wow.
He said, what are you doing? He said, I'm doing this Energized Health protocol. He said, well, that thing raises your testosterone. So for men, it's the same thing. It's, guys, when we get that intracellular hydration that we lost. So as we're going through life, we're basically this healthy grape, and we dehydrate and become the raisin. Mm-hmm. So the only difference between a grape and a raisin is what? It's just hydration. And so as we put that healthy hydration back in, guess what? A man's testosterone goes back where it was when he was young. A woman's progesterone, her estrogen, her testosterone goes back when it was young. That's going to the root cause, and that's why it reverses all those symptoms that they have.
Well, energizedhealth.com is the website. I urge people to watch the masterclass. Book a call. That's really important. And I've had the same results. My testosterone went up. My blood pressure went down. I lost 15 pounds. And you say losing the fat is just simply a byproduct of all the other positive health attributes that come out of this, John.
It's just a positive side. So is the reverse aging, and so is the skin. The skin. Guys, I'm 65 years old. And people meet me in person. They make me pull out my driver's license. They think I'm 45 years old. And they say, dude, how do you have skin like that? Do you have a facelift? I go, no, I'm all natural, no testosterone, no peptides, no anything. I just have intercellular hydration. I'm just a grape, not a raisin. And you can be too if you just go to this root cause. And guys, Grant, at our company, we have no salespeople.
Right.
So we don't try to sell anybody anything. We share a simple science that's real, that's been helping people for 29 years. And we give you a free call, not with a salesperson, with a trained health professional. Some of our health coaches are 20 and 30-year nurses, Grant, that after they had this miracle of Energized Health in their life, they quit nursing and they came and joined us. Some of them, their doctors are the ones that recommended them to us because their doctor reversed their irreversible kidney failure or liver failure or whatever disease they had. And the doctor said, you guys cracked the code. These guys are going to the root cause, which is inflammation. and they're reversing inflammation through this intercellular hydration. And Grant, we have hundreds of doctors now that swear by our science. They're doing medical studies for us. They're recommending patients to us. And so again, I just encourage you guys, just book a free call and talk to someone about your specific issues and see if this could be your answer.
Yep, it's great advice. Again, the website, energizedhealth.com, energizedhealth.com. Have the success that I did. As I said, 15 pounds in 2 weeks. I've kept it off. All my levels went in the right direction, including blood pressure. Book that call, energizedhealth.com. John Jubilee, it's always great to see you, my friend.
Great to see you, brother.
I'll tell you, he's an amazing guy. Now, I got good news for you here. This is really pretty amazing. We've got 24 people watching on YouTube. Now, I know that doesn't sound like a lot, and I know we get a lot bigger audience on Rumble. Normally, it's like 1 or 2 people on YouTube after YouTube had canceled my first platform, shadow banned this platform. So the fact that we have 24 people there is pretty impressive. Shelly, my captain here and in all the platforms, probably has something to do with that. So thank you, Shelly, and anybody watching on YouTube, a big thank you for being here. Please subscribe and like the channel, share it as well. And for everybody on Rumble, you know I'm grateful to all of you. You know, before I leave you, I wanted to play Tom Homan because there's a lot of talk right now about what's happening with immigration, where we go with the current situation. And I was having a conversation with a very good friend of mine. You know, when President Trump first came into office, the theory was we're going to go after the worst of the worst. And when he came into office, I thought, you know, that's a good theory. There's so many really bad people. You've got to triage, go after the worst. But then it became clear. When you combined the self-deportation, 3 million self-deportees, by the way, I think is what the number is now. That is the quickest way to get people out of this country. We should still be pushing that. But it's also very easy to deport people when you pull up looking for a violent felon and the people around you, you start to ID them and you start to realize, hey, these people are illegal too. You got to be arresting these people. Now the numbers start to grow. Now I'm not sure I'm a worst of the worst guy. I'm like, hey, you know what? If you have a ICE detainer, if you have a removal order, anybody, you don't need to be a violent felon, but if you've been ordered to be removed, you should be on that list. And so there's a reason why you should be on that list. Because American citizens are suffering at the hands of illegal aliens, and the left refuses to acknowledge that. You know, where was the outrage when Rachel Morin was murdered? Like the outrage for the woman who tried to run over an ICE agent. Literally, you try to kill an ICE agent, and there's more outrage over your death than there is from someone raped and murdered and killed by an illegal alien. Well, Tom Homan was on with Laura Ingraham, and I thought I'd play this soundbite for you.
Why don't you show the funeral of Rachel Morin? Why don't you listen to the 19 minutes of Laken Riley fighting for her life? Not that she was, murdered, that for 19 minutes she fought for every breath, fought to survive. How terrified these young women were to be raped and murdered. How about that? How about we educate these children on President Trump making this country safe again? How about we educate the children on the last administration? 500,000 children were smuggled in this country. They lost track of 300,000 of them, and President Trump found 145,000 of them. 145,000 children that the last administration wasn't even looking for. Why don't we talk about the 250,000 Americans died from fentanyl across that open border? Why don't we talk about the record number of known suspected terrorists across that border, or the historic increase in sex trafficking in women and children? Let's talk about that. President Trump's saving lives every day. The border is the most secure we have in the history of this nation. Less women are being raped. Less people are dying making that journey, and this country's safe again. Let's tell that story.
That's the story that needs to be told. Thank you, Tom Homan. I mean, that is the story that needs to be told. The mainstream media is not going to tell it. We tell it on Real America's Voice. All my partners on that network do. If you don't know what Real America's Voice is, you got to go find it. Great, great, great outlet. And I'm proud to be a part of that. I'm proud to be here with all of you. Don't forget, folks, real quick, themavericksystem.com. This is about reframing your mindset to become an alpha, to become a winner, to start getting what you want, to start commanding the respect you deserve. And sometimes it's just a little tweak of how you think about things. That's what the Maverick System is all about. I've got it priced super cheap. All I really want is a testimonial for it. Go on offense, start winning, go take the course, themavericksystem.com, themavericksystem.com. Beyond that, that's going to do it for us today. Thank you so much for watching. Please share the video, like the video, all of it. You guys are great. And again, a big thanks to those in the YouTube channel. I'm really, how sad is it that I've got to be blown away by 25 live viewers? You know, if we went on Instagram or something, I'd blow that number away. But on YouTube, maybe they're starting to lift the shadow ban. Should I keep my fingers crossed? Maybe. Well, God bless you all. Stinchfield's Army rolls. Thanks to all of you. We'll see you soon.